This video is for computers standard 5. Today we will be doing chapter 1 evolution of computers part 2. In my first video I had talked about ancient calculating devices and ancient computers. Today I will be talking about computer generations and characteristics and limitations of computers. First, computer generations. What exactly is computer generations? Now we are all familiar with the terms 2G phones, 3G phones, 4G phones, 5G phones. We know these are for mobile phones, and we know that 4G phones are better and faster than 3G phones, and 3G phones offer more features than 2G phones, and the 5G phones which are yet to come will be better than all of them. Similarly, you have computer generations. The first generation of computers were the first computers that came in the 1940s. These were followed by the second generation computers which came about a decade later. The third generation computers which came in the 60s, and the fourth generation computers which came first in the 70s and which are continuing even till then. And we have the fifth generation of computers which are yet to come. So now let us try to understand more about these generations. So there we have a chart on generations of computer. If you would look at the left hand side of the slide, you will find that there is a column called generations. The first generation computers were those computers made in the 1940s to 1956. Second generation computers came from 1956 to 63. Third generation from 1964 to 71. And the fourth generation from 1971 to the present. This means that right now we are using fourth generation computers. The laptops, the desktop computers, the tabs, even the smartphone we are using, these are all fourth generation computers. Fourth generation computers. Now look at the other two columns. The central column is called main component. We will talk about that later. Let us come to the third column, size of computers. The first generation computers were very, very big. The second generation computers were very big. Third generation computers were big, and the fourth generation computers are small. Today we have the desktop computer, the laptop, the smartphone. Compared to the computers in the first, second and third generations, these are certainly much smaller. The smartphone fits into the palm of your hand. The laptop can be folded and taken away. The desktop is big, but still not so big. It can fit on top of your desk. And what were the computers like in the olden days? First generation computers, as I said just now, they were very, very big. For example, the computer ENIAC. Now you have to bring the computer ENIAC to our school and try to put it in the computer room. Well, there will be no place for anything else. ENIAC of course cannot be brought to the school because ENIAC doesn't exist anymore. But if we had brought it, we would have not been able to fit it inside any of the classrooms. It was so big. And the big computer room would have been just big enough probably to hold the ENIAC. Now the second generation computers were a little smaller, but they were still very big. They needed one large room to hold them. And the third generation computers were still very big. They too needed at least a small room to house just one computer. Now for the column in the center, the main component. Computers in the first generation used vacuum tubes. Those in the second generation used transistors. Those in the third generation used integrated circuits. They still do. And in the fourth generation they use microprocessor. Now out of all these things, I am sure you know what are integrated circuits. At least you have seen pictures of these things. Okay. you see this picture of a IC or a chip. You have seen them anywhere, everywhere. They can be found inside any electronic device. Now the microprocessor is actually a type of IC, a more advanced form of IC. Modern computers have this microprocessor. We also call them the CPU chip. It was this use of ICs or integrated circuits that really reduced the size of the computers. In the olden days, days of the first generation, there were some bulb-like structures called the vacuum tubes. You can see this picture over there. The computers in those days had thousands and thousands of these bulb-like things called vacuum tubes, and every so often these tubes will get fused and the computer will stop working. The invention of the transistors, whose picture is given here, made the computers more reliable, also reduced their power consumption and also reduced their size. Now we come to the next classification, the classification of computers, the generation-wise classification. We discussed what were the input devices used. We start with the fourth generation. In the fourth generation, we use keyboard, mouse, scanner. And here we have a picture of a modern keyboard. In the third generation, mouse and scanner were not used. They had not been discovered in those days. They were only keyboards. And there is a picture of a keyboard on the right hand side. It looks like a modern keyboard, but it was much heavier in those days. The keyboards of those days were at least 3 to 4 times heavier than the modern keyboards. And in the first and second generation, there were no keyboards, no mouse. There were only something called punch cards and paper tapes. You have some pictures of them on the right hand side. Now output devices, fourth generation computers use printers and monitors and also plotters and speakers. The third generation computers only use printers and monitors. And the first and second generation used only printers. In those days, monitors had not been invented and monitors were not used therefore. Now, here we see the storage devices. Today we use magnetic disks and optical disks. Magnetic disk means hard disks, mostly hard disks, and optical disk means CDs and DVDs. Third generation computers also use magnetic disks. That means they also used hard disks, but the hard disks in those days were much different. You can see that picture over there. You see this picture here. This is a picture of the world's first hard disk. This thing you see where I am moving my mouse pointer over it, that is a hard disk, the world's first hard disk, which is being loaded into an aeroplane with the help of this crane. So that was the world's hard disk, a far cry from modern hard disks of today, which as you have seen pictures of before and I have shown you also in class, which look like a small tiffin box. From here to here is certainly a big advance. Also in the storage capacity. The storage capacity of a modern hard disk is at least 1,000,000 times more than these huge hard disks which were used in the third generation. And in the first and second generation, there were no hard disks. There were only these things called magnetic tapes. In those days, these magnetic tapes are still used nowadays, but these are very slow and not much of use nowadays. Now, all this time I have been talking about first, second, third and fourth generation computers. Now, in this screen I am talking about the fifth generation computers. Now, you may be hearing something about artificial intelligence. That is, machine intelligence. Computers and devices with intelligence. Right now, the computers of today have no intelligence. But these fifth generation computers, they will have intelligence, they will be able to think, they will be able to imitate human learning. But the fifth generation computers are still in the future. However, some of the input devices and secondary storage are already being used. Input devices will mostly be voice input, that's already there. Secondary storage will be cloud storage and solid state drives. These are also available nowadays. So just now you studied about generations of computers. Now let us discuss about characteristics of computers and limitations of computers. First of all, what do you mean by the term characteristics? Characteristics means qualities of computers, things that describe a computer. We often describe people as saying they're reliable, they're loyal, they're smart, they're efficient. In the same way, we'll now be discussing about the qualities which describe a computer. And just like nothing can be perfect, computers are also not perfect. They also have some drawbacks and some limitations, and we'll be discussing about them as well. The first characteristic I am going to discuss about is accuracy. Accuracy refers to what percentage of error occurs while performing a task. If we were to do any job, the most expert person would still make mistakes. If I ask you, a class 5 student, to perform some simple addition, add two numbers, 5 plus 7, 6 plus 9, 3 plus 4. Now that's quite easy, no? That's very easy. But if I tell you to do 100 such additions, will you get them all right? Unlikely. You will make mistakes. Even though you know addition very well, you will make mistakes. I will make mistakes. Mr. Peter will make mistakes. Your parents will make mistakes. We are human beings. We make mistakes because that is our characteristic, that is our nature. Computers make no mistakes. This means their accuracy is 100%. The next characteristic is speed. Speed is the amount of time to do a task. A computer works very fast and can do a large number of calculations quickly. Now let's take your report cards. Previously, report cards were written by hand. The teachers had to write the report cards by hand, and they also had to calculate things like years average, half years average, and the rank and other things. And it would take a teacher at least one full working day to prepare the report cards of one class. Now today, by using a computer, we can print out the report cards of the entire school within hours. So that way, computers work very fast and can do a large number of calculations quickly. Reliability. How reliable is a computer? Now, reliable. Now, what does it mean by the word reliable? Can we rely on a computer? A computer is fast, a computer doesn't make mistakes. But can we rely on it? Can the data on it be relied on? What happens if a computer fails? If a hard disk fails, or if there is a virus attack? Luckily, that's not such a big problem, because whatever data we have, we can keep a backup of it on a pen drive. If a computer breaks down, we can use another computer. So we don't really lose any data. If it is kept on a computer, because it is always so easy to keep a backup. Let's take an example. Your attendance is kept and taken and kept in the attendance register. Now it can be also done with the computer. Now the attendance record register may be lost, or it can be destroyed. So in that case, what happens? All your attendance record is gone. But what happens if it is done on a computer? Even if the computer is damaged, probably there will be a backup of the data. So your data is not lost. So this way, a computer is certainly very reliable. Storage. A computer can store an immense amount of data. Okay. Now, can you store any data? Yes, certainly you can store. Do you know the marks you got in the second semester exam? Probably you do. Do you know the marks of your friend? Probably not, or probably yes. Do you know the marks of the entire class? Certainly not. At most, you may be knowing the marks of yours and a few other friends. And most probably you have forgotten them by now. But the computer, it can store the marks of all the students, not only of your class, but of all the 4 sections and of all the sections of the junior school as well as the senior school. It can store all of it. All can be stored in one computer. And as you know, a computer stores data in hard disks, CDs, pen drives, memory cards, and other devices. Diligence. Unlike human beings, computers do not get tired or bored of work. A computer won't work for very long hours without any break. Multitasking. A computer can perform more than one program at a time. What does it mean? Here's an example. You can type a document using MS Word or WordPad or some other word processing software, and at the same time listen to music on a music player like Windows Media Player. Now, those were the good things about computers. Now, here are the limitations. The first limitation is the incapability to think. A computer cannot think and take decisions on its own. Whatever program is there, it will work on the basis of that program. It doesn't have a brain which can think. It cannot take decision on its own. And in the case of any error, it cannot take any alternative action on its own. No intelligence. If you want to insult somebody, smile sweetly at him and tell him you are as intelligent as a computer. Yes, that's a great insult. Because a computer doesn't have less intelligence. A computer has no intelligence. A computer has zero intelligence. It is fast, it is accurate, it is diligent, it has a huge storage, but it cannot think. It has no intelligence of its own. And the last limitation, dependence on power. A computer runs on electricity, as you know, and well, this may increase your electricity bill. With that, we come to the end of this part of the video and to the video as a whole as well. Here are some assignments. Please do them in your textbook. And till next week when we come with another video, goodbye.